Still with more news on the latest developments at the conference within the activities of the COP27 Climate Conference Adaptation and Agriculture Day. The Minister of Environment, Ministerial Coordinator and Envoy of the COP27, Yasmin Fuad, participated in the opening session of the day entitled Adaptation, Agriculture and Food Security. This was in the presence of the Minister of Planning and Economic Development, Hala Said, as well as the Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, Sayed Al-Qusay. The session was attended by climate pioneer of the Egyptian presidency of the Conference of Parties to the United Nations Convention on Climate Change and United Nations Special Envoy on Financing the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, Mahmoud Muhyiddin. During the session, Fuad stressed the need to focus on the issue of adaptation, not only on agriculture and food security, as year 2022 was full of climate disasters, and it is necessary to put agriculture and food security at the priority of climate change to meet humanitarian needs. The United States, Germany and Egypt joined forces to accelerate the Middle Eastern nations' green targets, declaring a faster expansion of renewable energy in the country. Now we're delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest, Dr. Tarek Temraz, the climate change expert. Dr. Tarek, a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you and all the audience.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us this afternoon. First and foremost, Doctor, could you tell us a bit about the integrated and sustainable energy strategy that Egypt is seeking to implement until 2035?
Okay, we can start that Egypt has a very good potential in respect to sustainable energy, as Egypt is surrounded by water bodies, and we depend on the sunshine, which we have all the year around, more than 300 days with 1 year. And it is the largest all over the world, and we got benefit of this by installing of solar farm in Benban. Also, we got the wind farm and the wind speed all the year around in Ras Gharib and East Valpo.
Yes, Doctor.
And we also constructed one of the largest wind farms. So the potential of Egypt, which we achieved till now, is an energy mix between the traditional thermal power plant and the renewable energy, which we achieved 22%, and we are aiming to achieve 42% by 2035.
Indeed. Right, Doctor, I'm just going to ask you to speak up a bit, as you know the line is not very clear, but I wanted to ask you about what, in your opinion, are the most important projects, that Egypt has already implemented or started specifically in the field of renewable energy?
Actually, Benban solar panel is the largest one all over the world, and I'm very sorry for the low quality of the voice because I am at the venue of the conference.
Yes, no problem, sir.
It's very hectic.
Yes, indeed. Right. How do you see, we've seen the topic of green hydrogen risen several times throughout some of the meetings and sessions. How do you see green hydrogen contributing to the preservation of the environment?
Green hydrogen is depending on the raw materials. Formulating the green hydrogen is the water itself, as well as sources of renewable energy. And we have both of them. So we have the solar and we have the wind farm, as well as the water. So it is just generating energy without any emissions. This is why they call it green hydrogen, because other type of hydrogen can emit loads of emission. It's lower compared to the traditional fossil fuel, but still there is an emission generated in the process, which they call it gray hydrogen, brown hydrogen, and black hydrogen. So our case now is focusing on green hydrogen, and it is the future, and Egypt will be a hub for this by all the contracts signed with the Chinese, the Netherlands, on the development of green hydrogen plants. Okay.
Right. Dr. Tarek, tell me a bit about the latest session that you have attended today in the COP27 and what really stood out for you, sir.
It's just I went out of. It's on methane pledge. We know we are all the government as experts trying to curb down the emissions to reduce the devastating impacts on climate change. And one major cause of this emission is the methane, which comes from agriculture waste as well as solid waste, in addition to some leakage from the oil and gas production.
Yes.
And everyone is concerned nowadays to curb down the methane emission in the near future, 2030, by 50%. Some people hoping that we can reach only 30%. So it's really an important issue, and we just participated with this Clean Air Task Force, the international one, and the Global Methane Pledge, to identify what is the need for this and what is the cost as well. Because what is most important, not to implement any offer you receive, but to study it well to see if there is any feasibility for this, any economic or environmental impact by implementing this technique.
Absolutely right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Tarek Temraz, the climate change expert. I don't want to keep you any longer, so you can go back to your session. And we now bring you a report on the United States, Germany, and Egypt, who have joined forces to accelerate Middle Eastern nations' green targets. Let's take a look.
The United States, Germany and Egypt joined forces to accelerate the Middle